Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to film a really fun video that I've been wanting to film honestly for probably 2 or 3 weeks now. It's as soon as it hit August, honestly, I wanted to start filming my fall TBR, but I held it back and decided to wait a little bit. I wanted to do some more summer reads first, but I've just been so excited for fall that I decided, I started to see a couple of fall TBRs posted on YouTube, and if they can post them, I can post them. And I am so ready for fall. I have a very ambitious TBR this year, but I have no large series that I'm really looking at reading. Most years I read a long fantasy series in the fall. This year I feel like it's all about duologies, trilogies, just short series that I just want to kind of roll through and just embrace every part of fall, from fall romances to mysteries to thrillers to fantasy. I kind of have a big mix of all of it, and I am so excited. I have a lot of books to talk about. If you guys have a favorite book that you're looking forward to this fall, whether it's a new release that's coming out or just a book that you haven't had a chance to get to that you've been saving for fall, comment that below. I want to know what everyone's gravitating towards this year. And maybe I can make my TBR even longer, because as you'll see, I don't need that, but I will always add books to my TBR, no matter how many books are on there. But like I said, I have probably over 20 books, and that's just my physical ones, so let's just jump right into this fall TBR. Starting with some of the most atmospheric ones, I have just one romance. I don't have a ton of romance on my TBR. Once fall hits, I feel like I love fantasy and I love mystery a ton, but I do like the occasional romance, so there are a few on here. And the first one that I have is This Spells Love by Kate Robb. I've had this since last fall. I think I got it says it was my November book of the month, and I think by the time I got it mid-November, I was kind of out of the fall mood. So I thought this would be a perfect one to read this fall. It sounds very similar to the XX, where there was a breakup and it sounds like they put a spell on her ex, but it sounds like this one is she wanted to rewind her memory to forget about him, but they did it a little too well and he has no clue who she is, so then it's they're meeting again for the first time. A few fantasy ones that I'm looking forward to reading this fall. For the first one, I'm not going to pull it down because I'll probably have it read before fall, but I just finished Fourth Wing, so I'm going to be reading Iron Flame very soon. In the next few days probably I'll start it. If you haven't read it yet, I would greatly recommend reading Fourth Wing, especially if you love fantasy, if you love dragons and stuff. It was fantastic. I loved the first one. But I feel like this next one is going to be very atmospheric as well, and that is Caraval. I don't really know a ton about this one either. I've heard very mixed reviews. Of some people love it, some people say it's beautifully written, they love the story, they love all aspects of it. Some people seem like they struggle through it, but I feel like in order to give it its best chance, I want to read it this fall. I'm definitely a huge fantasy girl once fall hits. That is all I want to read. I will read fantasy books and a couple of other things as palette cleansers, so the fact that I don't have a ton of fantasy on here, I really don't know what I'm gonna gravitate towards, or if I'm going to end up just keep on picking up different fantasy books. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get to Caraval this fall. So another shorter fall-ish fantasy book that I want to get to is Lightlark by Alex Astor. I recently bought this one. It was in, I think, my Amazon book haul, and I have been seeing the author post online about this book and about this series a ton, and she just seems so sweet, and everything that she says about the book makes me want to read it so badly. but I kind of wanted to wait until fall because I think the third one comes out this fall. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to kind of read them all back to back. But from what I understand, this book definitely gives like kind of Hunger Games vibes, where there's a deadly game and this like different rulers from different realms have to fight in order to like figure out who's the like strongest of them all. And they all have different powers, and they all are trying to like break a curse that was put on them, and they only have this option like once every 100 years. The last fantasy one that I have here is one that I like never hear anyone talk about, and that is Flamecaster by Cinda Williams Chima. And this was one that I found a few months ago at Barnes & Noble. I think I actually saw the second one was like turned out so like I could see the front cover, and it looked really interesting. And then I like found the first book of the series, and I don't really know anything about it at all. I just decided to pick it up and give it a shot and see what it was about. I'm hoping to get through so many of these shorter series, and they're all ones that have just been kind of sitting on my shelves for a while. This one's a little bit newer, but I still just, there's a ton that I just need to get through. I should also at some point try to get to Shadow and Bone, but that one just keeps getting pushed back, and I don't know when I want to read that. Maybe I'll try to read that like in winter or something. But I don't know. I bought that one because I loved Six of Crows, and then I never picked it up because I loved Six of Crows so much. The next genre that I want to talk about, and that is like mysteries and thrillers. So most of these aren't necessarily like specifically for fall, but I just love reading mysteries and thrillers in the fall. I feel like it's just so fitting, and they make fantastic palette cleansers between fantasy books. Starting with one that I'll probably reach towards first because it's another one I'm planning on reading fairly soon, and that is The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. I've talked about this book so many times, but it's the third book in the Housemaid series, and I don't really know anything about it. I liked the first two books in the series. I just need to get to the third one. This one was released in the end of June and beginning of July. It was released a couple months ago, and I just haven't gotten a chance to get to it yet. So by the time we reach fall, I'm hoping to have this one done, but we will see if I actually read it. I really, really enjoy her writing, and I have a few other books of hers that I'll talk about in a second. I don't want to know much about this one going into it. I feel like I'm not setting my expectations high for this one just because the second one I did the same thing, so I was like, I don't know where this is going from the first one, and I was pleasantly surprised, so I'm hoping to feel the same way about this one. Another one that I have by Frida McFadden that I am really excited to read in, I'm planning October, and that is The Inmate. So this one is one that I saw a few months ago, but I hadn't read The Housemaid yet, but I saw this one and it immediately stood out as being something that I was interested in. But I wanted to read The Housemaid first to make sure that I liked her writing before buying a ton of her books. But this one is about a nurse practitioner that works out of prison, and like there's rules with the inmates that you're not supposed to get too close to them, you're not supposed to share personal information, and you're just supposed to like treat all the prisoners with respect. However, one of the most like notoriously dangerous inmates was her high school ex-boyfriend, and she was the reason he's behind bars. I also have pre-ordered Frida McFadden's newest release. It's The Boyfriend. It comes out in October, and that one's about a girl who is like trying to find the perfect boyfriend, finds a guy who seems so nice. However, there's like a string of murders going on, and like she feels kind of suspicious about him. I have two books by Riley Sager, and I've never read one of his books, but I've heard pretty good reviews about most of his, but I think a lot of people, like, his favorite one is one of his newer ones. It's like the House Across the Lake or something like that. A lot of people, I think, enjoy that one. But I've owned both of these for a long time. It looks like I've owned them since 2020, probably, like when I first started Book of the Month. And that is Lock Every Door and Home Before Dark. I think they're both about, like, haunted buildings that people are, like, living in. I'm hoping to pick up at least one of these so I can figure out, like, if I like his writing, and then go from there on if I will pick up the other one or not, or more of his books. The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This is one that when I got it, I was really, really excited for it, and then I just kind of never got a chance to get around to it. It says that I got it in May 2023 because I remember I got it when it came out. But I think it was just at a time where I, like, wasn't reaching for mystery books. A woman who lives in a super remote location, and then she posts a negative book review, and I guess she then believes, like, the author that she wrote the negative book review about is, like, haunting her or stalking her, and just kind of, like, in general, making her life miserable. He's a, like, mystery writer. None of this is true by Lisa Jewell. This was another one that I got when it came out, and I know this one was, like, a very highly anticipated release, and I just haven't had a chance to get to it. I read Then She Was Gone by her, and it was kind of just okay. I don't know, it was one of those books that it didn't have, like, a suspenseful ending, it didn't have a happy ending, it just kind of left me feeling It's not the worst thing, it kind of just left me feeling a little bit uneasy about, like, what had happened. And this one is about a woman celebrating her 45th birthday, and someone else is also celebrating their birthday, and then they just kind of keep bumping into each other. I guess one of the women disappears. She has a ton of books, and I like to give authors, like, a few books before I completely am like, that author's not for me. And I didn't love the first book I read by her, so we'll give this one a shot. For reaching out of my comfort zone a little bit, I'm going a little bit more on the, like, thriller side of mysteries because I haven't really dove into anything like that yet. I have a couple of books that my boyfriend's grandma gave me because she was just kind of going through some of her books, and she has so many of them, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. And I know there's a movie to this, and I don't know, I recently watched, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like the documentary about the woman who went missing for like 3 days and then just randomly came back, and like people were comparing that to like the real life Gone Girl. And then the other one that is again a little bit out of my comfort zone, but was a gift from my boyfriend's grandma, and that is The Institute by Stephen King. So this would be my first ever Stephen King book, and I know he has a ton. I know a lot of his have been turned into like very, very popular movies, which I've never seen any of those either because I don't tend to gravitate towards like scary movies. It's just, I don't know, I don't watch a ton of movies in general. This one is about a little boy whose parents were murdered and then he was taken away, and he's taken to a room that looks just like his, and like all these kids kind of ended up in this building the same way as he did. They kind of just appeared there. Alright, so the next few books that I want to talk about are not really fall related at all, but are ones that I just want to read this fall. And starting with Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is the third book in the Chestnut Spring series. This one I feel like is definitely a different atmosphere than the other ones because it's hockey and like childhood friends to lovers, and I don't know, it's still in the small town, so I feel like it'll still be a good one for fall, but I'm hoping to read this one so that I can continue with the series because I feel like the cowboy is going to be perfect for like the beginning of fall. I don't know, I really enjoy Elsie Silver's writing, and I don't know, she writes such good small town romances. They tend to be a little bit on the spicy side, which I don't love, but her writing makes up for it in my mind. I could potentially get into like hockey romance this fall. I'm not sure, I haven't really read much for sports romances. I guess I could put it on this fall one too, but I have the cheat sheet because I read the rule book by Sarah Adams, so I have the cheat sheet, which is like a football romance, which could be fun and kind of fall because it's football. But going on with Elsie Silver, I have Wild Love that I was hoping to get to this summer, but I don't know, I don't want to be reading 2 of her series at once, so I feel like I'd rather try to get through the Chestnut Spring series first and then get into her new series, especially since Wild Eyes, the second one, comes out in September. And I don't know, like I said, I really enjoy her writing. I love her, like the way she writes small town, and I think this series is all like single parent tropes, and I really enjoyed the way she added the kid Luke in Heartless. Another series that I haven't started but I'm really excited to start this fall, and that is the Eden series by Daphne Perry. This is the first one, Indigo Ridge, and I feel like this will be a perfect kind of romance story for the fall because I'm not sure if all of them in this series are, but this one sounds like it's kind of a mystery mixed with a romance, which I think is such a fun combination. The main female character, she is the new chief of police in this small town, and I think her grandpa was the old chief of police, and so she needs to make sure that people know that like she knows what she's doing. She didn't just get the position because of him, and like the biggest thing that she has to do is win over like the town's like leading family. And I think it starts with a like one night stand between one of the sons of that family and her, and they're like trying to solve a mystery in here because she's a cop. If all of them have kind of a mystery subplot to them, I could see myself picking up a bunch of this series this fall. The last physical book that I have on my TBR is one that has been on my TBR for way too long, and I need to get to it, and they're fast-paced, so I have no excuse to not get to it, but there's always other books that I want to read more, and that's Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second in the Natural series, but it's all about teens who are enlisted to help solve crimes because they have these innate like profiling abilities, who they're just really good at reading people or determining when people are lying, or just kind of, it's very Criminal Minds, but like to the extreme a little bit, especially because they're so young. Like I said, I need to read it, and I think the fall would be a really good time to read it. So I need to get to it. Same with, honestly, the Inheritance Games. I read the first one of that, and I need to get to the rest of them. Moving into like new releases that are coming up, I already talked about The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. I want to get into Lightlark. That one has, its third book is coming out. I want to read Better Than the Movies because its sequel is coming out, I think in September, October. But I want to pick up the first one because I've heard so many good things about that, and I feel like, I believe it's a YA romance, and it's all about like making things like the romance, like the corny romance movies. I want to read Serpent and the Wings of Night. I have the first one on my Kindle and I want to start that one because it has, like, I know it's like a 2-book series, but it's got like a kind of third book coming out where it's like, I think it's the same world but different characters that comes out this fall, so I think it'd be fun to read that one. The last book that I am really excited about, honestly it might be one of my most anticipated releases, and I know it's really good because it's, I feel like, not one that I hear a ton of people being super excited about, but I absolutely loved the first 2 books by this author, and I'm not sure they're first 2 books in this series. I'm not sure if they're her first 2 books, but I'm so excited for this 3rd one, and that is the 3rd book for the X-Hex series. And I read these in the same year, but I think they came out like back-to-back years. And it's just about like these 2 cousins who are both witches, and they are like navigating being a witch in a small town. And in the first one it was about how she had put a curse on her ex, and then he ends up like coming to the small town and they end up trying to break his curse. And just the small town in this was so cute and such a perfect like fall atmosphere in my head. And in this one the cousin moves to town and they're running this witch shop, and the like main male character comes to town to try and bring back like their powers. I don't remember a ton about this one. I just remember absolutely loving the atmosphere in the small town, and it made me just feel like, I think this one featured like a little like coffee shop, and every part of it was just absolutely adorable. They were breaking a curse on all of like the witches in the town. The 3rd one is called The Wedding Witch, and it comes out on October 15th, and I don't really know a ton about it, but it's, I think the 2 in the first one were brothers, and so I think this is about the 3rd brother, and he has to come to town for a wedding. I remember the 2 main male characters in both of these, mostly in the second one. He was such like a brooding man, like he was so grumpy, and the first one I feel like he wasn't. The first one was like the youngest brother and he was just a lot more like fun, whatever. And I believe the 3rd one was also another just super grumpy guy. But I can't help it, like I am so excited for the 3rd book of this series because I just absolutely loved the first 2, and they were just like the perfect little fall romance. And I don't know, I just remember reading them and just being like, I'm so ready for Halloween, I'm so ready for fall. And I know the last one, I'm not gonna be able to read it for fall, but it'll be a perfect kind of in between to read. I'll probably read it like not long after it comes out. I might wait till after Halloween, just because since it's about kind of like a Christmas scenario, I don't want to read it before Halloween. But like I said, that was my very ambitious fall TBR. I don't even know how many books are on there, probably over 20, and like I said, I read usually like 3 to 4 books in a month. So am I gonna get to all of these? No, but these are kind of what sounds good to me right now. This is what I'm leaning towards, and I love fall so much, and I'm so ready to just have everything be so cozy. And living in North Carolina, I feel like fall kind of hits a little bit later here than I'm used to from growing up in Iowa, but in some ways it's so much better here because it might not feel like fall until practically we're at Halloween, but then it feels like fall like almost up until Christmas. Like half the time Christmas here has felt like it's still fall. But if you guys like this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any fall books that you are really excited to read, let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys next week. I post every Friday. And thank you guys for watching. Bye.